Hey, welcome, my neighbors. Have you ever wondered what's inside a typical oil-free air compressor motor? Well, let's find out. So, my neighbors, I'm making this video because I picked up an old air compressor for a fairly cheap price. The original owner told me that the air compressor's motor was dead, so I only needed it for the additional tank anyways. I have another video on that about connecting these two tanks together to give an additional capacity. But I wanted to make a video because I started taking apart this motor to try to find out what was wrong to see if it's at least salvageable. But I found very, very interesting things when I opened it up. So let's get into it. So the first thing I noticed when I powered this up, well, the motor started kind of struggling to start, right? And so I figured, hey, there is connectivity here. The power is going through correctly. There's just something wrong. It just won't start. But we know that all electric motors that run on alternating current, single phase, usually requires capacitor to start. So that's my first starting point. I opened it up and see if the starting capacitor was actually damaged. And you know what? I was good. It was good. I checked it, and my first guess, I confirmed it. This 250 microfarad capacitor was damaged. In fact, if I checked it with the multimeter, the capacitance is almost zero. So that was bad. And, I was about to jump the gun and buy a replacement capacitor. But then I took a look at some other stuff. Like I said, I was starting to wonder why the capacitor burned out in the first place. Because capacitors usually don't burn out unless there's excessive heat going on there. And I was wondering what could possibly be wrong. So then I thought, well, let's take a look at the next part. If that's the starting capacitor, this here on the back of the motor, here you see this shaft will spin. This part is called the centrifugal switch. So basically, the starter capacitor only needs to remain in the circuit for as long as it takes for the motor to spin up to about, about running speed, which is, I don't know how much RPM this is, right? But the starting capacitor isn't needed afterwards. So I thought, well, maybe the centrifugal switch is damaged. If the centrifugal switch is damaged, maybe it might cause the capacitor to remain in the circuit for too long and eventually burn itself out. Well, I give that a check. So the way this thing works is that there's a spring here, and there's a little there's two little, I don't know what to call these ones, but weights, I guess, centrifugal weights. And what happens as the shaft spins, you can tell that because these parts here can actually, you see this, can actually move out. When this starts spinning, you can imagine it will push these things out. I guess the effect of the spin will accelerate it and accelerate these two different tabs here to come apart. And once it overcomes the spring's pressure over here. And once that happens, there's a little tab here. And this metal, it's a metal collar, right? Which is normally, right now in this position, is not connected to any of the wiring here. Okay, so the switch is essentially off at this point. So it will allow all the current from this white wire to travel through this this point contact here into this silver tab right here. And this silver tab is connected to a black wire on here that leads all the way up to the black wire, which is on the connected to the capacitor, right? And so what happens is when it spins up to speed, this thing opens up, and this black tab underneath will end up touching the, will actually make contact with this tab and short the current out into the chassis here. Or not the chassis, but it shorts the current out so that the current doesn't make it into the black wire, right? Essentially. So once it shorts it out, then effectively the starting capacitor is never on the path of the circuit. Okay, and when I checked it out, if you look at this actually works. If you spin this up, you can actually see this black tab end up touching this contact. So this is working properly. Okay, so then I wondered, what can it be? What else can it be that's not working? If I replace the capacitor not knowing where the original problem is, then it'll just blow again, right? So that led me to inspect it. Like I was spinning this, this is now we come back to here, and this fan type looking thing is actually, it is a fan, it's a cooling system, but it also is connected to the piston, which drives the pump, and there's a crank shaft right here. Now I noticed when I manually spin it, you hear that rough clickety clack sound? You hear that click? It's just a grindy kind of sound. And you probably can't see it on camera, but when I turn this, there are certain spots that where the motor kind of gets caught when I turn it. You hear that? A big click? So I took a look at this and I thought, well, there must be something, that clicking sound, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's coming from inside the the cylinder, right? Because I did notice that the intake here did not come with a filter. So I thought maybe the guy previously probably had a he forgot to put on the filter, or maybe he wanted to modify the thing to make it have more high capacity. So took off the filter and maybe something dropped into that. I don't know. That little click click clack sounds like a screw. Maybe there's something jammed in the intake, right? Or jammed inside the cylinder itself. So let's take a look at the piston. After undoing the screws, I open this up. And here you go, you see the piston. There's nothing in there. So if I spin the thing, I still hear that clickly scratchy sound, right? Intermittently. But it's nothing in here, right? There's nothing in this whole system. So I thought, well, then it can't be in the intake, because I still hear the sound in here, right? As I rotate it, and the intake is off. So can't be the intake, can't be in the exhaust. So it must be something in the rotating assembly, right? So I take a look at this, and what do I find? If you look carefully, zoom in right here, the main shaft. Not sure if I can get this one, but you see the main shaft. I'll zoom in on this one. I'll lock the focus so you can see. Do you notice how much play there is? Now, I'm not sure why I can't replicate this when we're doing this. You see here in this position, click, right? Do you see how much play there is in the bearing? I'm like physically now lifting moving the shaft up and down. You see it right here. It's hard to replicate, but surely I do see it in there. The whole shaft is just moving up and down. In certain positions, that is, right? But we're gonna fix that. We're gonna try to take this apart and see what it takes to fix it. Maybe it's too hard to fix. I don't know, but let's get into doing that. Okay, so we're gonna take it. This is cool. If you haven't ever seen, I haven't seen what's inside an air compressor. So this is pretty interesting. Piston moves up and down, and you may be wondering, well, how does it generate air pressure? Well, that's even cooler. Let's take a look at what's here. So basically, what you got here is, this is the underside of the this is the head, basically, right? So you got these interesting things, shapes here that don't look like they do anything. They don't open or anything. And you got these three little holes. Well, this is really cool. The way it works, this is essentially what they call a reed valve. So if I open this one and I flip it over, you'll see five holes here for the intake, and this rusted looking thing in the exhaust section, right? It's rusted because of moisture, right? But it's not that it's broken. It does work. I'll show you. This is really cool. So basically, the way this works is, this is sandwiched together, okay? The intake is here. The air can freely move into here, but it's divided from the exhaust, right? So they cannot mix with each other. And this is important because this thing obviously is like on this side. Okay, it's like this. Now it's sandwiched together like so, right? This way. So what you can imagine is, on the downstroke, when the piston is moving down, it has to intake air somehow, right? So what happens is, these reed valves, they actually open up due to vacuum pressure, okay? So I'll open this one, and I'll prove to you that they actually open. If I take a stick rod here and actually poke at it, one of these valves, I don't know if you see, look. It actually opens up. Okay, I'll show you on this side. So put this down, I'll poke it from this side, and I'll show you. You see that? That's the valve open. And any one of these valves, same thing, right? Open. So when the piston is moving down, it draws these valves open this way, right? So, and then letting air into the cylinder, right? On the exhaust stroke, the piston comes back up, and because of the air pressure, it will force the valves closed. So none of the air will leak past through these valves to go back out the intake. What happens is that, due to the positive air pressure of the piston coming up, it'll push against these holes, right? And these holes are the opposite of the other holes. If I push on this, on the exhaust side, it will open up. You'll see here. You see that little crack of light down there? Yeah? I poke at it and it'll open, and all of them open. All three of them will open, right? Yeah. And they work. So I think this leaf here is just eventually, probably just, its function is probably just to limit how big the valves open, right? But again, remember, on the downstroke, these will remain closed, right? Because it's basically vacuum pressure. There's basically creating a vacuum at that point, pulling those valves closed. So the effectiveness of the pump is essentially how well these valves open and close relative to each other. I don't know why there's 5 of them in the intake, only 3 of them on the exhaust. I suppose that has something to do with it could be the way, maybe because the air is already compressed, it's the velocity that the air can squeeze out. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that, right? I imagine with more holes, you can, kind of have more capacity there, right? Pushing more air, but or I don't know. I think it's mostly based on the cylinder size. right? That probably has the largest influence on how much air this this pump can move. But that's cool, right? So let's get on to the disassembly of the of the crank, of the rotating assembly. Let's see if we can fix it. I believe that we can probably just fix this thing by remove. First, we got to take the crank off with this bolt, and then split the rod here. There must be bearings in here. There's a screw here. We can split that, and then I think we can remove the whole. I guess this, you can call this the face or of the motor's can. I don't know what else. Chassis of the motor. You can remove the face of it, and then I think we can pull. There's 4 bolts here, 4 little bolts here. There's one here, and one over here, as you can see, right there. One there, and on the bottom we see another one right there. Right, you can see right there. So if we remove those, I think we can move the main can of the face or the can of the motor, and then maybe we can be able to punch that bearing out and press a new one in. I'm not sure, but let's do it. Let's find out. So use an impact. Let's see. I don't have a holder, so let's see if we can do an impact. Oops. Wow, that's a tough one. Let's get some penetrant in there and try again. Liquid wrench. The liquid wrench, the best thing ever. Okay. I don't know how far that goes through, but let it sit for a while. Should be enough. Hope I don't have to cause damage with this. Alright. Again. Oh wow. Yeah, let's try and not strip this out. I'm gonna use a proper black impact bit. Get it in there good. Okay. Let's try this again. Am I going the right way? Maybe I'm tightening this thing. Okay, no, it's going the right way. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, once again, proper impact bit. Oh, there it goes. Ah, that's a no-go. I broke it. Now what we got here? Okay, so I bet this has to come off now. What happened here? So stubborn. It's stuck in the plastic. Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull this off. It's just stuck in there. Let me see if I can pry it out. No choice now. Busted. Screwdriver in there, pry that sucker off. Slowly. What else can we do? There we go. Looks like it's moving. I'll rotate it until I can pry it off. It's in there. You can see here. You can see what I'm doing. I hope you can see that. Just putting my pry bar behind there. Eventually getting it out. It's already coming out, so that's a tough one. First level, already defeated. That's not a good story. Okay, there we go. So that's it. It's just some locking tabs here, locking it on, but I clearly broke that nut. I broke that bolt with a crank. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get that out. Will I have to weld it out? I hope not. So let's see how this goes. So if I'm spinning this thing now, crank. Can we see where the roughness is? It's not in this bearing. It's got to be in the back bearing here. Somewhere in there. I don't know. Let's further the disassembly. We've got to remove it. We've got to remove that bolt, I think. Take a look. Okay, so never give up. But let's not worry about that bolt right now. Let's worry about the disassembly. So I think there's enough wiggle room here. If I loosen this bolt, maybe the tension will release here and I may be able to push this bearing out. Not sure. Let's give it a try. Hope this one doesn't snap. Position. So get at it. Come on. Oops. Different size? I don't know if that's a different size. This is the most it'll go, I guess. Fit it in here. Only I can fit it. Oh, don't tell me they use a different size bolt. It's a different sized one. It's a smaller one. Is it a small one or is it just me? Just try that. Yup, it's a different size one. What a bummer. Okay, how about this one? Let's try to take, maybe we can loosen the crank a bit to get the counterweight. Or actually that is the crank, that's what creates the offset. There. Let's try to remove that. The extension is not long enough to go through here. Okay, let's see. Like this. It's not a good idea. Did it work? No. Was I just imagining things? How about down here? Okay, what about like this? Upside down. That should work. So let's back that out. Okay. Okay, we need something to hold the nut on the back. So I impacted out. Now I have to get this thing off. There we go. There we go. Everything is so tight in these things. It's harder than working on cars. Okay. All right, this is loose now, but that hasn't loosened the bearing enough such that we can get it out. Okay, let's impact off this one. That one looks tougher. Let's change our weapons. Change our tools. Change our bits. Which one is it? This big fat one? Was it this one? Yeah, I think it's this one. Right. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. This one goes in at an angle. Good. All right. Oh, why is this so easy? Why is this one so easy? Okay. Does that do anything? Does it release the pressure on something? No, it doesn't. Make it any better? I don't know. Okay, well, let's take the whole motor out. Okay, let's take it off the brackets. Then we can start getting these things out, I think. Okay, let's try that. These are 12s. Again at an angle, not ideal. Oh, they're so loose. Oh, that's it? Okay, that's all you got? That's all you got? Oh, that's all you got? Okay. You're not gonna give me trouble? No. So nice. Oh, sucks. Sucks now. There must be a bolt underneath it. Okay. Alright, got that there. Got that there. And the one that you can't see is behind here. Alright. But you didn't come to look at how to turn bolts, right? Okay. Now, let's just pull the whole... Let's just pull the whole thing out. Okay. Don't want to lose these nuts. Take them, put them down. Bet you it's gonna give me trouble now. Somehow. Thing's gonna be stuck. Thing's gonna be stuck somehow. Nope, nope. Spoke too soon. Came out rather easy. Oh, but the cord. The power cord. Didn't think about that one. Okay. You see the power cord is attached to the pressure switch. I'm gonna have to disconnect all that. That's not gonna be fun. Now that I got it like this, I just put it on a piece of block of wood. I'm not going to take the wiring off. I think these 4 screws, these 4 bolts. Now the bolts, I took a look, they go all the way down to the back. I'm not gonna take the back off. I'm just gonna take these ones off and probably have something to tape the nuts on, the bolts onto the back so that they don't just come fall out. But I'm thinking that, you see here, the bearing, this bearing, I would imagine that the whole thing comes off the shaft if you take this whole bracket off. I think it comes off all in one piece. I'm not sure, but you see the bearing is actually stuck behind this plate, so this can only come upward, right? Can only come upward to take it out, but yet it's still super tight, and there's no way. I don't think there's a way to get it out. Well, let me see. Let me reposition it. Let's push it this way. Can we actually take the? Can we take the crank off this way? So I got it, my friends. This piston sleeve is the actual thing that's kind of removable. You can see the sleeve in here, right? I don't know if it's bad, but it's okay. We remove it, so now the piston, you can see here, is fully freed up from the bore over here. So basically, I think all we need to do is have a puller pull this whole thing out. So Let me grab my puller. So I got my puller set up on here. This is the 3-jaw puller. I don't know what kind of puller it actually is. I got it many, many years ago to do something. Maybe 20 years ago. 30 years ago. I really don't know what this one is for, but anyways, got 3-jaw puller. I can only fit 2 of the jaws on it. So this is my kind of hacky setup. You know, I put a screwdriver under there. Hopefully I don't have to crank it that hard to get it out. I hope it's not like a Subaru bearing. So let's give that a try. Okay, let's try. Let's see. Subaru rear wheel bearing. Are you still the king of stuck? Or are you? Let's get that slowly. Oh, my setup just failed. Oh, yeah, it's not failed. It's not bad. Okay, loosen this pressure now. Don't want to break the piston. Got it going a bit now. It's not bad. I'm just gonna finish off the rest by hand, baby. Now that the 3-jaw puller can actually act as 3 jaws. Okay. Just stick this under there. Come on, open it up a bit. Just do it again. This thing is so stiff, that's the problem. Okay. I can get it under there. Just loosen this thing up. I'd be in such a bad position. I bet they make a proper puller for this. Who would do this? Except us. For knowledge, for knowledge. What I do for knowledge, what we do for knowledge. Okay, get in there. Okay, let's just pull it all the way out now. There we go. There we go. So that's how it looks like. The bearing is underneath and it only comes off one way. But now how to get the bearing off. So I think fundamentally there's a bearing here on here. I'm not sure that you have to actually take that out, because as you see, the bearing is on the crank, which is offset. The actual, what we want to do is just get at the main shaft, right? We just want to get, we don't actually need to take the bearing off. In fact, I took the piston off only so that we can probably split this the crank just a little bit, and then we should be able to tap this off from underneath. I think we put a chisel in there. I'm gonna try to knock it out from behind. Yeah, just tap it out with a hammer or something like that. So let's give it a try. Actually, it doesn't take much. In fact, you stick the chisel or a big screwdriver in far enough, and you can just pull it out. Check this out. There we go. And that's the crank where it offsets. So what do we have here? Do we have a damaged bearing? I don't know. Now, my friends, we're at the heart of it. I'm sure you can see this. Oh, look at the busted ball bearings. Now, this is a bearing pack ball bearing. It looks like, again, it's stuck behind this plate, which I said I was going to remove this. And by removing this, I think this whole cover comes off, and the shaft isn't actually stuck in there, which is the good part. Actually, it's not stuck in there unless the bearing is pulling. Basically, I think what we need to do is hammer this one out. Like, if I disconnect these 4 bolts here and pull this out, it will be still stuck to the shaft, I believe. I'm not sure how much play the back will give us space to pull it out. It might give us space to pull it out like this. So let me think of what we can do. Well, the back bearing is also pressed in, so I'm pretty sure that we can't push it out because there will be a bearing here. Yeah, the bearing on the back side must also be holding it tight. So the shaft itself will never slide. So if the shaft never slides, don't think that the can will actually come off. Because the bearing is pressed into the can as well. Though I don't think it will be pressed very tight. I'm debating now whether I should just, again, use the jaw puller to kind of pull this thing, undo the bolts, pull the can off. Because the puller's thing, I guess the point on the puller would be going right into this hole. So that should work. So that's a good plan. Let's see if we can fit that puller on the can. So I moved outside. It's too hot indoors. Let's blow these nuts off quickly. One. Two. Taking a chance. Using lubricant. Okay. I'm gonna get this rejaw puller on there. I think that will come out, but might have to put a bolt on the bottom on that side, right? Because I think this whole thing will come out. This needs to slide, right? So can't have any bolts here. Okay. Lock it in the back instead. Okay. You can get it in here. The rest of the way. It's loose. It's loose. Now for some reason when we started pulling it, the back started coming out. I actually think, I haven't pulled it all the way out yet, but I think it's more advantageous for actually to have the original plan, which is have the front part being pulled off. So I'm just going to hit it with the block. Yep, it's split. Okay, I just stuck a pry bar underneath so that the motor doesn't distort and twist itself as I work this thing off. So there we go. So this is what the housing on the inside is looking like. And as you can tell, it's broken. You see the balls? There's no more balls up there. That's why. Have a look at this, my friends. So I hope this motor is not damaged. The windings. I don't think the windings, we checked the continuity and everything looks fine, but look at this. Look at this stuff down here. I'm gonna put my gloves back on, but look at this. You see this? That's part of the old bearing race. Now, I wonder where the balls are. I hope the balls are not stuck somewhere in the motor somewhere. I mean, it looks like in the can, there's, let me see if I can zoom out here. In the can, no, I don't see any balls in there. Zoom in. I mean, there's large enough holes that the balls could have just flew out. So perhaps the balls are not actually in there, but now what we have to do is bang the rest of the bearing out. I think I'm going to put a socket on the other side and try to tap it out. I hope I don't break the outer race and it ends up getting stuck in there, but well, we'll do what we have to do. If it's broken in there, it's broken. We can try to cut it out or grind it out or something like that, right? But I hope I'll just tap it from the back like here, put a socket over it about the same size and just hammer it out. Fortunately, I don't have anything larger than a 24 socket, so it's 24 millimeter socket. So I'm gonna just put it here. It's just a little bit too small, but I'm gonna tap it and see what happens. Will I break it inside? If it is, it is. Doesn't matter. Oh, it's not coming up easy, is it? Oh, it's coming. I hope it's coming. Let's take a look. Other side. Yeah, it's coming. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's see what we got so far. Is it coming? Or is it not coming? I don't know. It looks like it's... Alright, use a little bit more power. A little bit more power there. So gentle all the time. Oh yeah, it's coming now. There we go. No doubt about it. The whole bearing's down there. Let's take a look at it. This question, if it's so tight, how am I going to put it back in? So this bearing, and then there's the other half of it here, the case. And at least it has a ID number on there. I don't know what that represents. I gotta look it up. but I'm sure Princess Auto has one of these. The tough part is going to be, how do I press it back on? I guess I could put it on a block of wood this way and slowly tap it back on. Or I can use the puller to press it back in. But I would need something that would fit exactly over the bearing surface so I can push it in. But you know, like this fitting right over it. Maybe this axle nut would fit. I'm not sure. Oh, wait a minute. This 32 millimeter axle nut looks like just a tiny too small. But the surface like this is, you know, it kind of goes down like that. I'm pretty sure I can put something larger than that, like another block of wood or something across it, and I could just tap it in probably, you know, probably not an issue. But let's see if Princess Auto has one of these, and then we'll be back. Hey, my neighbors, it's enough for tonight. I'm gonna try to buy the part from Princess Auto or somewhere to get the new bearing, and then stay tuned. We'll be putting this thing back together. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and see you next time.